About the gift of death. Death is the best gift of God for a living being. Firstly, death lurking somewhere around the corner as a hidden threat to life makes us much more careful than if we would expect to live forever. Secondly, as there is some life-threatening thing we should be afraid of at all times, most of us try to make as much as possible out of our lives. Whether this is true or false is a different matter, but we are trying to act at a certain pace to have time to see the results of our efforts. Third, death comes unexpectedly, only to those who are full of plans that should not be carried out. We should not feel sorry for someone who has failed to complete something. If someone's plans are not to be implemented, he is wiped off the slate. For example, if a scientist died suddenly, then his research would have to be stopped. And if an artist dies, he has done everything he could. Fourth, death often puts an end to unbearable suffering. Man ceases to feel the pain, the burden of disease and disability of old age. Fifth, death is not the end. Our plans for continuing life come to an end, but it is a new form for the soul to go on living. There are so many unexplored things in the future that sadness over unfulfilled plans and grief for those who are left on earth come to an end very quickly. For those who did evil on earth, death is the chance to get purified. Another way of purification is impossible, for even repentant criminals cannot be purified on earth until the end of their lives. You have to die to get rid of the consequences of your wrongdoing. Besides, death is what makes us more loved. When we realize that life is short, we love overpoweringly. If we were immortal and did not treat our loved ones as delicate and helpless creatures in the face of death, we could hardly love a lot. After all, love is a strong, overtaking desire to share everything you have, to hide and protect the loved ones from anything that might hurt, including death. Though you may ask if it is God's will to stop a human life, why does not He do it, seeing how much suffering man brings to other people? My answer is that it is the way to perfection and wisdom, and the most hardened criminal can understand the degree of his sin. Sometimes wisdom comes to those who commit the worst crimes. Sometimes young people full of creative power suddenly pass away. They suffer from incurable diseases or they are killed in accidents. This means that they have started anew in heaven. There they have more to offer than they had on earth. I will give an example. If an artist painted landscapes and passed away early from a disease, his skill was exhausted in the world. Or, on the contrary, a villain died early. That is because it is clear to the Lord that the villain was unable to understand what he had done. That will happen to him in heaven. Such people often die to reach an understanding in heaven. The heavenly court decides on every deceased soul, and everyone will get what one deserves to the extent of one's light-bearing qualities, and sometimes death becomes the only option for a lost human soul, so that it does not completely lose its light. The fact that the elderly die is a blessing for them. When the young die, it is a blessing for them too. So do not grieve that they did not live long enough, but rejoice that they will not be lost for eternity. The fact that thousands of people die in natural disaster becomes their salvation. If they lived longer, the light eternity would not be revealed to many of them. That is why, Do not cry, but think of how you can go to the otherness with no extra sins. A razor could probably kill anyone. Its music is death. But a razor blade stuck once into some rotten meat. What a stink, it said. Why is there no warm blood blowing out? It is dead, the blade was told, as there is no blood flowing through its veins. How can it be? The blade was shocked. I know better what death is. I bring it. Death is cramps, blood, screams, and here is silence, stillness, and stench. This is what death is, the razor was told, and what you have described is life, its last moments, though. The moral of the parable is that many people who do not understand the role of God in their lives are dead, though they do not realize it. They are dead to the eternal life. Their posthumous fate is to be in the same darkness as they were in during their lifetime. People are much nicer when they see the Lord. They are still alive, though with no great music. True life for God is human life full of light. This light streams from their souls to meet the Lord. Light from heaven pours on them in return. The razor must see the difference between life and death. True fearlessness is when you trust the Creator and do not regard your physical death as a bad thing. There cannot be true fearlessness without faith. Indifference to mortal danger without faith is a manifestation of stupidity, because life is not given to man for nothing, but to understand why he has come into this world. Here is a parable about it. Two friends climbed to the belfry and fell down. We have learned to fly. Their souls were delighted when the two friends fell to the ground to their death. When the Lord saw them in heaven, before the appointed time, he said to them, "You won't fly here, but you will be closed in a box. This is your punishment for your wish to prematurely get rid of the body. Your souls were deprived of wings in their lifetime, for a man whose soul has wings is ready to perform my appointed ministry. And I give him the feeling of flight to thank him after death. You lived worthless lives if you decided to die. What should I thank you for?" There is no premature death. Death always comes on time, if you look carefully at the circumstances. Either man is at his spiritual dead end, or he has done all he could, or he is in Satan's net, so the Lord chooses death to save his soul. It must be better not to be born, or be raised in such a family, so that he does not lose the light initially given to him by the Lord. Every soul flame is seen by the Lord, and he is doing everything he can to make the light shine. We do not always know about the Lord, do not always feel his presence in our lives, but if death is our only salvation, the Lord will do it. People do not want to see such things. Death is the end of life for them, not the beginning of a new one. We have not stepped onto the path of soul enlightenment yet. Let these explanations be a threshold that you need to step over to enter the world of truth. Someone will do that with joy, someone will stumble, and others will stop next to him in confusion and thought. Death is what we do not understand essentially. Strange things look scary. In fact, death is one of the most important events on earth that saves our lives. It seems impossible and ludicrous that salvation comes through the destruction of life, but it is the understanding we accept as the true one. Nevertheless, try to understand that death is the Lord's attempt to take your soul as far as its light-bearing qualities allow, which may be the last radiant light. The soul does not die with the death of the body. That is why trying to bring a body back to life when it is already dead is the worst of gifts. Feel the line you should not cross, when a person needs your help and when you can do harm. Help is real when it does not contradict the understanding of life as a way of gaining and strengthening the light. A young pigeon died in the claws of a cat. It was better for the Lord rather than the pigeon died of old age, because death is very important for the soul. If it flies from the body with a feeling of disappointment that it had no time to fulfill its mission in life, it is better than the feeling of having led a long, worthless life. The soul, flying off, correctly estimates its life. The Lord would not want the frustration of the unspent opportunities to accompany the soul on its way to heaven. The moral of the parable is that you should know that the last days and moments are very important for the soul. The soul of a man who had a long life, but could not properly put it to any use and fulfill his life missions, feels worse than the soul of a man who had died early. That is why you should tend the rays of your soul to the wise, so if you die early you can find the way to the Lord. For the frustration of old age does not show the way to the Lord, but rather darkness and oblivion. A believer knows that beyond death there is nothing that can destroy him. That is why he is amazingly focused in his life, and he can do a lot. He is open to the truth. The truth is that life is eternal. It is the result and the continuation of life on earth. So, your goals in life determine your place in eternity. Your posthumous fate is in your hands. And, while choosing your path on earth, think of it as an infinite one. You need to understand literally that it is infinite, and you are on your way to eternal light, or to eternal darkness.